You've heard them your whole life. Not as thunder in the sky, but as quiet sentences inside your head. Something's wrong with you. You're not ready yet. Better not try. Stay small. Stay safe. Stay asleep. You wake up with a weight on your chest that has no clear name. You hesitate before sending the message, making the call, changing your life. And 1,000 invisible reasons appear, explaining why now is not the time. Everyone around you calls this being realistic. But deep inside, something in you disagrees. Something in you remembers a version of you that is not this afraid, not this numb, not this easily bent by other people's expectations. The ancient Gnostics had a word for the forces that twist human consciousness away from its own light. They called them Archons, not just as outer rulers or cosmic entities, but as masks that speak through your thoughts, your habits, and your emotions. Tonight we're going to look at 7 masks of the Archons, 7 subtle voices that keep your divine spark buried under layers of shame, fear, and forgetfulness. As we go, don't treat this as mythology about some faraway realm. Treat it as a mirror of your own inner life. If messages like this resonate with you, remember to like this video, subscribe to Gnostic Codex, and share your reflections in the comments. Now, let's begin. The Archons as masks. In the old texts, Archon means ruler, authority, the ones who enforce the rules of the lower world. You can imagine them as cosmic administrators of a flawed system, extensions of the blind creator, the demiurge, who mistakes his own fragment of reality for the whole. But if you only imagine them as beings up in the sky, you might miss the way they operate right now, inside you. Because for the Gnostic soul, the battle is not fought in outer space. It's fought in the human heart, in the mind, in the way you experience yourself in the world. The Archons don't just live out there. They wear masks and speak as if they were you. Each mask is a way of twisting your perception so that you forget what you are and accept a smaller false version of yourself. Let's look at 7 of these masks. As you listen, notice which ones feel uncomfortably familiar. 1. The mask of shame. There's something wrong with you. The first mask is ancient and heavy. It's the voice that doesn't just say you made a mistake, but whispers, you are the mistake. You feel it after you fail, after you're rejected, after you simply don't fit into the role others wanted you to play. Instead of seeing a specific situation, your mind paints everything with one dark color. I am broken. I am not enough. I am fundamentally wrong. Under the mask of shame, you replay old memories like evidence against yourself. A comment from your childhood, a religious teaching that said you were born dirty, a comparison that made you feel less than human, and slowly, shame starts to feel like the truth. For the Gnostic soul, shame is one of the Archon's favorite tools, because a being that believes it is worthless will never claim its divine spark. Shame cuts you off from your own heart. You stop listening to your authentic desires because you assume they're corrupt. You sabotage relationships because you don't deserve love. You hide your gifts because you can't bear the possibility of being seen and then rejected. The counter move to this mask is not to shout affirmations over it. It begins more quietly with a simple question. What if nothing is wrong with my essence, only with the story I was taught about it? You are allowed to hold your wounds and conditioning as real, without turning them into a verdict against your being. The divine spark in you is not dirty. It is simply buried, and shame is one of the heaviest layers of earth above it. 2. The mask of fear. You are never safe. The second mask is fear. Not the clean fear that keeps you from walking off a cliff, but the chronic buzzing anxiety that keeps you from living. It speaks in probabilities and disasters. What if you fail? What if they judge you? What if you end up alone, broke, humiliated? Under this mask, the future is always a threat, and you are always too small to face it. Fear convinces you that staying in a life that is slowly killing your soul is safer than stepping into the unknown that could actually free you. For the Gnostic, this is another archonic pattern, because a human being who is constantly afraid doesn't have the energy to question the system, to seek gnosis, to listen to that quiet voice saying, there is more. Fear demands your attention, again and again, until your whole life becomes a ritual of avoidance. The way to unmask this fear is not to become reckless, but to see its shape clearly. Ask yourself, is this fear protecting my life or protecting my cage? There are fears that keep you alive, and there are fears that keep you from truly living. Learning the difference is part of the path out of archonic control. 3. The Mask of Numbness. Nothing really matters. Sometimes the Archons don't attack you with noise. They smother you with silence. This is the Mask of Numbness. You don't feel intense despair. You just feel flat. You scroll for hours, not because you're fascinated, but because you can't feel your own longing anymore. You say, I'm tired, when what you really mean is, I'm disconnected. Under this mask, days blur together. You go through routines on autopilot. You laugh at the right moments, say the right words, and yet somewhere inside, you are watching your own life from a distance. For the Gnostic soul, numbness is spiritual anesthesia. If shame makes you hate yourself and fear makes you hide from life, numbness makes you forget you ever wanted anything more. You stop seeking. You stop asking. You stop feeling the sting of the question, who am I really? The archonic advantage is obvious. A numb human being does not revolt. They don't even remember that rebellion is possible. To unmask this, start where you are, without forcing some dramatic awakening. Notice how you avoid feeling. Notice the exact moment you reach for distraction instead of sensation. The second you turn away from the raw emotion rising in your chest. You don't have to fix it all at once. Just let yourself feel 1% more than usual. Behind the numbness, there is not emptiness. There is a backlog of unlived life waiting for your attention. 4. The Mask of Division. It's us against them. The fourth mask loves conflict. It feeds on separation. It tells you that your worth depends on being on the right side, the right ideology, the right religion, the right identity, the right tribe. Under this mask, you feel a subtle satisfaction every time they are proven wrong, and a subtle panic every time your own group is questioned. The world becomes a battlefield of labels, and the person in front of you is no longer a soul, but a symbol of a side. The ancient Gnostic texts often spoke of Archons as rulers of the layers between this world and the higher light, forces that maintain division, ignorance, and confusion. One of the easiest ways to keep human beings distracted from their inner journey is to keep them at war with each other. You see this mask in spiritual elitism. We are awakened, they are sheep. Political fanaticism. Our side is pure, theirs is evil. Identity games, where being different becomes more important than being real. The tragedy is that both sides in these battles often forget the same thing. Behind all the roles, there is a shared origin. Behind all the masks, there is the same light, however buried. Seeing through this archonic mask doesn't mean you become soft, naive, or indifferent to injustice. It means you refuse to forget that even those acting as instruments of ignorance are, at their deepest core, also asleep sparks of the same source. You can resist systems without dehumanizing souls. That stance weakens the Archon's favorite game: divide and harvest the energy of conflict. 5. The Mask of False Light. You are special, above everyone. Not all archonic masks feel heavy. Some feel glorious. This is the Mask of False Light. Here the voice doesn't say you're worthless. It says you're superior. You stumble onto genuine insights, mystical experiences, or hidden knowledge, and instead of helping you grow in humility and compassion, they inflate your spiritual ego. You start to believe you are chosen, that others are beneath you, that you are too advanced to be questioned. You might reject organized religion, only to build a new private religion around your own image. For the Gnostic soul, this is a particularly subtle trap, because gnosis, inner knowing, is real. Mystical experiences are real. But the Archons are happy to let you have spiritual fireworks as long as they can twist them into pride. Under the mask of false light, you stop listening deeply to others, avoid your unresolved wounds by hiding behind high-vibration talk, treat spiritual ideas as weapons to feel superior, instead of medicine to become more whole. The antidote is simple but difficult. Honest self-observation. Ask, is my awakening making me more kind, more grounded, more real, or simply more certain that I'm better than everyone else. True light doesn't need you to be above anyone. It invites you to be fully present with everyone, without losing yourself and without needing to dominate. 6. The Mask of Scarcity. There is never enough. This mask whispers in many forms. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough love. There's not enough of you to go around. Under the mask of scarcity, you live in a constant feeling of lack. No matter what you achieve, it's never quite enough to let you rest. There's always one more goal, one more item, one more milestone you need before you allow yourself to feel worthy. From a Gnostic perspective, this sense of endless lack fits perfectly with a world cut off from its source. If you believe this lower realm is all there is, then yes, everything is limited. Everything can be taken from you. And the archonic pattern feeds on that belief. Because a human being who believes they are always one step away from disaster will sacrifice their authenticity for a little more perceived security. They will stay in toxic environments for a paycheck, betray their own heart for approval, turn their creativity into mere survival. When you begin to remember that your deepest identity is not this temporary role, but the spark behind it, a subtle shift happens. You still honor your material needs. You still work, create, and care for your life. But you no longer treat scarcity as your god. You hold this world more lightly, and that lightness itself begins to loosen the Archon's grip. 7. The Mask of Forgetfulness. This is all you are. The last mask is perhaps the simplest and the most powerful. It doesn't need dramatic lies. It just needs you to forget. Forget what? That you are more than this costume you're wearing. Under the mask of forgetfulness, you are completely identified with your story, your name, your history, your successes, your failures, your roles. You could hear 100 times that you are spirit, consciousness, divine spark, but it never sinks beyond the level of concept. You still wake up and live as if you were only this character, thrown into a random world with no deeper context. In Gnostic myths, human beings fall asleep in the world of forms, forgetting their origin in the pleroma, the fullness. The Archons don't have to torture such a being. They simply keep feeding it distractions, so it never has a quiet moment to remember. Perhaps you've tasted something beyond this mask at least once. A moment of stillness where, for just a breath, you watched your thoughts instead of being them. A glimpse of yourself as the awareness behind all experience rather than just the one experiencing. Then the phone buzzed, the schedule resumed, and the spell of forgetfulness wrapped itself around you again. The Gnostic path is not about permanently living in some otherworldly state. It's about returning again and again to the simple recognition. I am not just this story. I am the light seeing this story. Every time you remember this, even for a few seconds, a crack opens in the Archon's facade, unmasking the Archons. So what do you do with all of this? The point is not to obsess over invisible beings, nor to use Archons as an excuse for every difficulty in your life. The point is to recognize patterns, to admit that some of the most painful voices in your head are not the voice of your true self. The Gnostic way of unmasking the Archons is surprisingly practical. Name the mask. When shame speaks, call it by its name. When fear rises, recognize its script. When numbness arrives, notice how it dulls your edges. Witness instead of merging. Take one step back inside your own awareness. A thought of fear is arising. A wave of shame is passing. You are the witness, not the wave. Create pockets of silence. The archonic patterns thrive in constant noise. Even a few minutes of intentional stillness per day begin to starve them of your unconscious attention. Remember the spark. Not as a pretty idea, but as a quiet, stubborn sense that there is a you that has survived everything. That watcher behind the eyes. That is closer to your truth than any mask. Live small rebellions. Tell the truth once where you'd normally hide. Choose presence once where you'd normally scroll. Act from love once where you'd normally react from fear. These may seem small, but each act of remembrance, however brief, is a crack in the mask of forgetfulness. And light knows what to do with cracks. If this exploration of the Archons and their mask speaks to something in you, if you recognize these patterns in your own thoughts, emotions, and choices. You are not crazy, and you are not alone. Many around the world are quietly beginning to see through these same voices, to question the scripts that shape them, to feel an ancient memory stirring beneath the noise. If you want to go deeper into themes like this, from the demiurge to the divine spark, from cosmic myths to inner transformation, remember to like this video, subscribe to Gnostic Codex, and share in the comments. Which of these 7 masks feels most familiar to you right now? And what would your life look like if that mask suddenly fell away? Your reflection might be the key someone else needs. And as you move through your days, hold this simple remembrance close. The more clearly you see the mask, the less power it has over the light behind it.